the goal for today is basically just to get us to a point where we are prepared for our quiz on Monday. The quiz is going to be on 3.4 through 3.6. So everything from those three sections. Today I'm going to give us just more examples, doing more examples of the fundamental theorem of algebra. And then after that, tomorrow I'm going to go over all of our homeworks that we've had so far that I haven't gone over yet. And then on Monday you're going to have your quiz. So just something to watch out for. Okay, so here I have -1, 0, and 2. And that's how I'm going to. So I'm starting with -1, 0, and 2. And it says first write the factored expression. Now, there are going to be times on your quiz where I want you to actually multiply them out. It's not going to be any of the times where it's something super hard, like the ones we did yesterday. I'm not going to make you do any of those ones, but I am going to make you do some of the simpler ones like this. So you start it by writing the factored expression out. So that's going to be, you just switch the signs on each of these. X plus 1, and then x, you could either do minus or plus 0, and x minus 2. So that's our factored expression. Now, because this is a 0 here, I don't need to do it the way I normally would. I just leave it as x because I don't have to have the plus or minus 0 in. It doesn't do anything to x. So then first we multiply the two factors. So I'm going to do x times x and x times 1. It gives me x squared plus x. And then that's times x minus 2. Then we multiply the remaining factors. And so now I'm going to do the x squared times x. And there's not a lot of room here, so I'm just going to do it down here. It's x squared plus x times x minus 2. Distribute this to both terms. It gives me x to the third minus 2x squared. And then I distribute this x to both terms. So that's plus x squared and minus 2x. One moment. Russell. What's up? Uh-huh. Okay, so now we combine our like terms. That's negative 2x squared plus x squared. So that gives us x to the third. And then negative 2x squared plus x squared is negative x squared. And then minus 2x. And that's our final answer. For our next one, I have -3, 1, and 5. So I do the same thing. I start out in factored form, switching all those signs. X plus 3 times x minus 1 times x minus 5. Now this is a simpler one again. And so we are just going to distribute x times x is x squared. X times -1 is negative x. On the inside, 3 times x is positive 3x. And 3 times -1 is negative 3. Now before I multiply this by the x minus 5, I want to combine my like terms. So 3x minus x just gives me 2x. And then I multiply by x minus 5. So I go through the same process all over again. I'm going to distribute my x to each term. X times x squared is x to the third. X times 2x is 2x squared. And x times negative 3 is negative 3x. Now distribute your negative 5. That's negative 5x squared. Negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. Negative 5 times negative 3 is a positive 15. Combine my like terms. X to the third minus 3x squared minus 13x plus 15. I don't have anything to eat. I ate it all for lunch. All right. Next one. Now, if you have one that's 2i, and that's all that there is to it, then how many zeros does the function have? That's where the conjugate pair comes in at. So you're always going to look at it, and it's going to be x plus 2i times x minus 2i. So that's going to be 2 roots. And write the factored expression. That's what we just did. X plus 2i and x minus 2i. And then we just multiply them by each other. X times x is x squared. That's minus 2xi. I always just put the imaginary number last. Then multiply the 2i times this in this. That's plus 2xi. And then 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. I times I is I squared. If I look at my middle terms, those cancel each other out. It's like 2 minus 2. So that becomes 0. Then I squared equals negative 1. And so this would be x squared negative 4 times negative 1 is a positive 4. Any questions on that one? All right. If it says negative 2 and the square root of 3, it's my possible roots. Then when I write this, I have to use the rational roots theorem. Anytime you see the square root in there, you know that I'm going to have a plus and minus option for that as well. So it's going to be x plus 2, and then it's x plus the square root of 3, and x minus square root of 3. Now, these ones are still relatively simple. It's where I really get into trouble is when it's like square root of 3 plus 1 or square root of 3 minus 15, something like that. Those are the ones I'm not going to make you multiply. But anytime you have the square root or the complex where you have an I in it, those are the ones you're going to want to multiply by first. So I'm always going to want to multiply these two together first because they're kind of a pair. Keep those together. So then x times x gives me x squared. Outer gives me minus the square root of 3x. Inner gives me plus the square root of 3x. And really you should put your x in front of the square root, just so you don't get confused about whether your x is under the root. And then last, anytime I have the square root of a number times the square root of the same number, I get rid of my square roots and the number stays the same. So it's 3 times negative 3, and their square roots, so that just stays a negative 3. Or you could multiply the numbers together. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3, that gives us the square root of 9, which is just equal to 3. So either way, you're going to come back to that same thing. Now, because we kept these together, when I look at this now, negative x root 3 plus x root 3, those are the same things with opposite signs, so they cancel. I'm left with x squared minus 3. Now I just have to multiply that by x plus 2. Distribute x, distribute 2. X times x squared is x to the third. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Then I do 2 times x squared. That's plus 2x squared. And do 2 times negative 3. That's negative 6. Write it in standard form, which means I need to just switch to where the 2x squared is. X to the third plus 2x squared minus 3x minus 6. Okay, this one looks a little more complicated because I have a 2 plus I. So anytime you have it, and I'll tell you on your quiz when you have to and when you don't have to put the 2 plus I, or when you have to multiply it out and when you don't have to multiply it out. In this case, because I have a 2 plus I, or if I had a 2 plus square root of 3, I'm not going to want you to multiply that out. It just gets far too difficult. Not that I don't think you can handle it, but it's just easier if you leave it in its factored form. So that would be x minus 3. And then just remember, if it's in this form, it's x minus, put in parentheses, 2 plus I. And then x minus 2 minus I. And that's it. This way I can see that you know that there's 3 roots. And that's all. I don't want to complicate it too much. This one's just like one of the other ones we did. Here again, I have the square roots and the rationals, or the complex. So I'm not adding anything to these rationals or complex numbers. And so I can do them out the same way I have been. This would be x plus the square root of 2, x minus square root of 2, then x plus 5, and then x minus 3i, and x plus 3i. Now, remember to keep the ones together that are similar so that I can multiply those out. If you recognize this is called a difference of two squares, which we've done before. If I see the same thing with just a plus and a minus, that's the only difference between them, it means that really all I have to do is x times x to give me x squared. The middles are always going to cancel out, so you do the first and then you do the lasts. Square root of 2 times negative square root of 2 gives me minus 2. So that front is done already. If you can remember that rule, it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headaches. Same thing with these back ones. It's the same thing in both of them. The only difference is I have a minus and a plus. So do the fronts, x squared, and do the lasts. Negative 3i times 3i, that gives us negative 9i squared. I squared is just negative 1, so that's really x squared plus 9. And then I just have the x plus 5 in the middle. Now I can distribute x squared times x and x squared times 5. X squared times x is x to the third. 5 times x squared is 5x squared. Distribute your negative 2. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And now I have to do it with x squareds. Distribute that to everything, and distribute the 9 to everything. I think I accidentally drew this one to the wrong spot, but you get the point. X squared times x to the third is x to the fifth. X squared times 5x squared is 5x to the fourth. X squared times negative 2x is negative 2x cubed. X squared times negative 10 is negative 10x squared. Then distribute my 9. 9 times x to the third plus 9x to the third. 9 times 5x squared is plus 45x squared. 9 times negative 2x, that's negative 18x. And 9 times negative 10 is negative 90. Combine my like terms, x to the fifth plus 5x to the fourth plus 7x cubed plus 35x squared minus 18x minus 90. So that's basically the end of today. Tomorrow we're going to go over your homeworks and then be ready for your quiz on Monday.